called Bull's Red, right? Very good. Which we will talk about different Bull Red flavors, a non-trademarked energy drink. It already bundled for us. So what is the first thing we would like to do? You like to build a model?
No. What about the gym?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, let's fix that, right? So as we know, there's certain issues with the dependencies for the SQLite gem as it stands right now. So let's fix that first. But while I'm doing this, because it's so boring, what should we do? 3.6? Generate the model? You guys cool with that? All right, let me ask you this question. Will we also need a controller for this?
Yes.
Cool. Will we need some routes for this?
Yes.
Maybe some views? All right, so let me just blow this up a little bit. There is a Rails G. There's model, as Vicky showed you. There's controller, as the amazing Vicky showed you as well. And there's one more I'm going to show you.
Everything.
Yes, the Rails G everything, right? It's called resource. Yeah, and I will explain what it does so you know. But let's actually write it out, right? What it will build is a model for you. And just like Rails G model, you can put in the attributes. It will build the controller for you. It will build an empty views folder for you. And it will build your routes for you. And your migration. Rails++. Cool. Great. So what do we want? Like, I don't know, energy drink? Is that what this is? Drink energy? Let's just put energy. Energy, right? Cool. What are the attributes of this like energy concoction, this energy cocktail?
Color.
Sweet. Color. Do I have to put string here?
No.
Smart. Cool. You want it as a string, right? I'm assuming? Okay.
Carcinogen Boolean.
Caffeine level. Yeah.
Flavor. Power.
I'm gonna veto that one because it's sketch. I heard a couple of other good not suggestions. I heard power. Power's okay. Sure, power. What is that? A boolean?
Powerful.
Powerful. Integer. Right. Like how powerful. Right. That makes sense. All right. Let's not get wrapped up in all this. The idea is that we just want to understand the forms. Cool. Man, this class. We're gonna get to four loco territory, right? So let's just.
That's where we're going.
All right, let's. I'm like literally in uniform right now. So, all right, cool. Let's talk about what that built for us, right? Let's look. We have again the migration. It built the model. It built some tests for you, which is cool. The controller, an empty views folder. Some controller tests, just helper files, some coffee scripts, which we will not really get into. SCSS, it's a CSS like preprocessor. It allows you to compile all your CSS into one. It also helps with writing CSS, and we'll kind of touch on that in the CSS lecture from the amazing Vicky. And it builds your routes for you. So let's take a look. In my app, all right, nothing wild. I have my models. Boom. Views, empty energy folder. I have my controller, energies controller. Oh, you guys looking forward to that Sinatra where it built everything? Nice try. There is something that does that, but we won't really get into it. The DB migrate, you have the energies, seeds, and then where is the config? Routes. It sets this up for you. Power. Rest in power. So That's what resources, Rails G resource will build for you. Cool. It combines model and controller if you already know you're going to build both, and then inherently builds you the 7 RESTful routes. Just a quick reminder, we don't always need the 7 RESTful routes. So if you do not need the route, do not write the route. If you have routes that point to nothing, that will expose your application, potentially in malicious ways, right? So if you're not using the edit path and you have resources and it does everything, if for whatever reason a hacker gets wind that you have a route that exists, it will actually touch your application as opposed to look under routes, see that it's not there, and break out. If the route exists, but then there's no action in your controller, there is potentially a security issue there. Cool? So don't write routes you don't need, yeah? Awesome. Does anyone know what this does for us? Like, can they write out the manual styles version of this? Cool, let's do it. Bloop, gone. Gone. All right, what's the first thing we need to do now that we've run this like Rails G resources? Test. That's right, we should test, right? Good job. We should test. And how can we test? Rails C, a little Rails console action. Cool. And then what's our model? Energy. Will it exist here? Interesting. Cool. So what should I do? Rails DB migrate, right? Just like Vicky said, Rails loves Rails, right? Starting in Rails 5, it has built-in methods that will say anything that Rake can do, Rails can do better, right? And so just run Rails. Rails DB migrate, and then I can get right back to the console, and then I can check enter. Whoops. You like that? It's my narcissism happening. I almost put Evans G. Cool. All right. Okay. Let's make one, right? Energy dot create. What do we have? What are our attributes? If you forget, here's a cool trick. You just drop this, and then they're right there for you. You like that? Sneaky. All right. What's this? What's this one? What do we want to make our first energy concoction? Burgundy. Oh my! Oh, it's because this one. Yeah, no, is that right? Burgundy. Okay, okay, okay. All right, how strong is this thing? Over 9,000. Boom. Good deal. Oh, crap. Oh, saved it. All right. All right. Good deal. We don't have to test associations because we have none, so good to go. Let's start that server. The first thing is, how does Rails work, right? Like, the typical thing that you usually want to see is either this home page, this landing page. In terms of the RESTful routes, what would you like to see first? Do you want to be able to like make this new energy first? Or do you want to see like all the energies, the details of like an energy drink, or like what? How do you want to do this? You guys want to do it all? Cool. What is the route I'd like to build for this all? All right, cool. So I just do a quick get to /index. Is that the right thing? What is the RESTful route for this? Energies. Cool. Yeah? Yeah, I mean, like, Rails built it this way, so I'm assuming it's fine. So a get to /energies. What happens when I build just this? What will Rails do? What does Rails do? The first thing a user, right, I do localhost 3000 or like my website, /energies. What happens? Okay. I love the pause because I was able to drink some of this energy drink. The idea is that a user is going to make a GET request to, see how useful that is? If you hit Command and the slash, which is above the return key, it hides your folders. All right, a little extra space action. So if I do a GET to slash energies, the first thing that happens is Rails will look under the routes and see, is there a GET to slash energies? And naturally, is there a GET to slash energies right now? Yes. The next thing is Rails will ask it what to do. What controller action should I go to? So because I haven't specified a controller action, what can you safely assume this Rails error will be? Missing the controller key. What a good error. So let's point it to what controller? The index controller? The energy controller? Energies controller? Cool. What happens if I forget and I don't put an action? And I refresh. Missing the controller key. So this is not complete yet. But I can point it to a particular action. And what action do I want to point it to? The index action. Oop, that's gotta be weird. So I'm saying inside the energies controller there's this index action. Cool. What should happen? Do I have an index action inside my energies controller? I don't. So if I refresh, action index cannot be found in energies controller. Does this error make sense to you? How can we fix that? Little index, right? And then, of course, just like I did in Sinatra, right? Something from the model, and what is the response? So what happens now if I were to refresh? What is it going to do inside this index? If you remember, the difference, one of the main differences between Sinatra and Rails is that it will implicitly render a file with the same name as the method. It will implicitly render the same name of a file as a method. Cool?
I think when we were starting Rails, I forget where we were told that that if you were making a change outside the app folder, you were supposed to restart the server.
Huh.
Is that?
Oh, that might have been a Rails 4 thing. Rails 5, if you do anything with the routes, you do not have to restart the server.
Cool.
Yeah. Rails 5 optimizations, plus. Good question. Cool. So it will implicitly render something called index. Did we build something called index? This file, this template, this HTML, this ERB. So index is missing a template. That makes so much sense. Like, this is literally how Rails is working. This is like error-driven development. Like, one thing I fix, one thing I fix, one thing I fix. It'll just literally guide me through. So naturally, inside my views energies, I need what? Cool. And I'm just going to put H1 and say, There it is. Cool? Yeah, I think Vicky made a good job in pointing out exactly how this works, but just that quick refresher one more time. Can I render something besides index here, or do I have to render index? Can I force it to render a file called Ian? What happens if I refresh now? Weird. There's this missing template under energies Ian. So let's fix that. Under energies, I can have an Ian file, and I can be like, yeet. Cool. If I refresh, there it is. What I want to point out is you always should, while you're in this bootcamp, explicitly render for 2 reasons. It's going to help enforce your knowledge of why this is going to render, because we're going to dive into tomorrow, actually, the idea of render and a redirect. So if you have questions about that, be happy to answer that offline, but that's what tomorrow's lecture will be on. And by tomorrow, I meant Monday, unless you eager teammates want to come in on Saturday. I should not have put that out because I am not as eager. But yeah, always do this because, again, you are in control, right? You're writing this explicitly. Also, there's this idea that eventually you won't have to send just HTML. You can send other types of data across the internet. Maybe some images, maybe an email, right? Maybe some JSON data. So just get into the habit of render. If you're building just a Rails app, and it's all Rails, 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 you can get away with doing this, right? I'll show you. If I refresh, why did this come back up? Right, because it will look specifically for the same thing of this file name, right? In the same way that if I did def, right, Vicky Huang, cool. How would I hit this method? In the routes, I can simply point this to, right, this method. And so when I do a get to slash energies, it will point to this method. So what should I see? There's no template named. Who thinks it's show? Who thinks it's Vicky Huang? Come on, guys. I know. I need you guys, right? I know I'm hyped up on Red Bull, but yeah, there's the missing template. Cool? All right. That's enough of that. So, cool. Index is good, right? We'll just default to index. I'm going to leave this here because Vicky's awesome. And let's jump right into the form and start understanding those differences. Cool? Does anyone need me to go over show? Thumbs up if you want to go over show. Nice. Thumbs up if you don't want me to go over show. Nice. All right. So let's get right into it, right? Which 2 methods, I let that out the bag early by accident, do I need to be able to create this energy drink? Why new and why create? That's right. This is going to be the get to the form. And this right here is going to take data from the form and create. Right? Remember, the params go here, and then you can create inside this. Here, you're just rendering the form. So we need to do a get to the form. What route gives us the get to the form? What is a RESTful route? We'll start with the easy stuff. All right, I'll give this to you. Powerful. I'll even give you this one. Nice. Oh, now y'all got it. Cool. So a get to slash energy is new. Do I have that route? No. Cool. Get to energies slash new should point to the energies controller at a method of new. Right? Cool. So now I'm here. Ready? So if I do get to energy slash new in my routes, does that route exist? Yeet. And it's going to tell me to go here. Inside the energies controller, do I have a method called new, an action called new? What will happen when I go here, though? There's no template. There's no template for new. How can we fix that? Boom. All right, great. So what we want to do is we want to go over the following. I forgot how to do this. Oh, nailed it. Cool. This is like HTML comments. Cool, just so you guys know. And here we want to go over HTML form. So all I'm going to do is put a quick p tag, oops, and just put HTML form. Bloop, bloop. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. And then here we're going to do, this is the form 4. And then this is going to be, I'm sorry, let's do form tag first. And then this is going to be the form 4. Are you all familiar with form tag and form 4? Just in the sense that Rails has 2 different form builders. Okay, Rails has 2 different form builders. Well, there's 3. There's something called form with, which is essentially a combination of form tag and form 4. So if you know how to use both, you know how to use form with. So I'm just going to teach you these 2. Yeah? So let's do this HTML form. But first, let's actually see this page kind of load. Great. I have form, the regular form tag. And where should this post to? Slash energies. Why? Yeah, this is, right, exactly. This is the RESTful route. This is where it should go to. Cool? So, in my routes, do I have a post to slash energies? How do I make a post to slash energies? Post to slash, it's just that easy, right? And this should go to where? I can make it go to create, right? I can also make it go to make new energy. Do I have a make new energy controller action in here? No. I can make it though, and then obviously replace this. Is this so far so good? All right, cool. I'm just gonna, again, do the RESTful action, but I want you to start to see that you can expand outside of the RESTful convention anytime you want. But for teaching purposes, we're just gonna follow REST. Great. So, again, the post to slash energies is gonna hit this create. Therefore, this post to slash energies will hit what controller action? All right. Oh, sorry, I took the wrong one over. A post to slash energies gives me what controller action? Great, right? Perf. So it's going to hit here. So I can always do a quick by bug because we are in Rails now. So there's no more binding pry. It's by bug. This is like a major change. Key change, baby. All right, so let's take a look. That's a stupid SNL joke. All right. So we have a text. What is the name attribute pointing to? What key? The params, right? So what do we want to name this?
Same name as the table.
That's right. The same as the attributes of our model. So we can have something like color. I'm sorry, this is probably not helpful, right? Let's bring this back. Is that better? Right? And then what else were the other attributes? Powerful, right? And then instead of text, I think it's like integer. Cool. Then I don't want to embarrass myself. I want to make sure I have a submit button. Bloop. Cool. Good to go, right? What happens if I go blah, 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 and then 8,999? It's not over 9,000, right? What happens when I submit this form? Should I hit the by bug? Okay. I get into this invalid authenticity token error. What this means is, unlike Sinatra, Rails is going to block anything that is not secure in the way that it needs something called an authenticity token. Let's take a look at what this form tag does for us. If we don't know what that looks like, Rails form tag. Boom, form tag. Let's see how it works. I just want to see if it like comes up clearly on the screen here. Can you guys read this in the back? Yeah? In the back? Eat? All right. So if I have a form tag and I put in as an argument something called /posts, it will build for me a form with the action of /posts, method post. Why method post? Well, what do forms default to? Post. Cool. So I'm just gonna rip this like a good smart person, right? But look, I can also change this. Put still posts, but sneaky. Builds that for me too. Sneaky. So let's actually take a look at what form tag does for us, right? Because we've identified regular HTML form gets blocked by Rails. It doesn't like that. So let's do this. And do we want a post to /posts? What do we want to post to? Energies. Huh. That didn't look like it highlighted. Because it looked like a Ruby. You know what I mean? So form tag is a Rails helper method, and what it will do for you is it will build you a form. So let's take a look at this website now. Oh, just kidding, I don't want to do that. Let's go back to energy/new. And here, okay. Oh, yeah, nothing came out because I don't have any inputs. Forms will do that, right? Like if you don't have any inputs in the form, it'll be like, cool, and nothing will come up. So the form is there, there's just no inputs. So how do I do Rails input? Cool. All right, let's see. There's helpers, there's like some sort of text field. I think there's like a tag somewhere, input tag. Text field tag, cool. I'll take it. If I do the text field tag, it'll build this for me, this input. So let's take that, a little rip action. And I put this here. Look at like a Ruby. So I have one input in here, but I don't want to embarrass myself. I also want a submit tag. Wow. Power. Yeah. I don't know why this doesn't highlight. Something wrong with my text editor, but this should be fine. Cool. All right. Cool. If I refresh, and there it is. Let's inspect the HTML to see what came through. If you click on a certain thing and hit inspect, it zooms in on that. So if I inspect this, it'll zoom in on this input. So I'll show you. Boom. It zooms in right on the input. Sweet. Power. Cool. So this is the HTML form, the regular standard one that matches up with this. It looks exactly like I expect it to, right? Like literally like character for character, right? Let's take a look at this form tag. It looks like this. I'm doing a post to /energies, which is great because that's what I'm assuming it's doing, what that builder does for me. Now, it does something called UTF-8, which is just like the way the character encodes. If you want to look more into this, this is where I tell you it's a good blog post, but it's really not. This is not that long of a read. But basically, it's how the computer will encode the actual text. It can do emojis and certain characters. Cool. What's this? Huh. I didn't write that. I also definitely didn't write this. But this is the authenticity token we were talking about. So the Rails helpers will build this for you with magic, right? And why this does it is because Rails will send out, this right here. Do you think this is the same every time I refresh this page? No. I'm not going to refresh it, but you are correct, right? It is different every single time, and it is randomly generated from the Rails server. So this authenticity token is randomly generated from the server, and then it gets stuck in the HTML. When the user submits this form and hits saves changes or whatever, what comes back across on the server? all the params, right? To include everything in the inputs. We've seen this happen already with the underscore method. So do you think something with the key of authenticity token with a value of this random hash comes across? Rails will check when I created the form and sent out this token, and then the form submits back, does the authenticity token match? Like that ghetto clap, it was like, did that authenticity token match? If it matches, then that must mean that Rails built that form. Because this is, do you think this is guessable?
No.
Just like straight out of Compton, like, hey, great, got this authenticity token, boom, boom, boom. Right? Probably not. So this is what Rails does for security, which is why it rejected this regular form. It did not have the authenticity token built in. Yes?
Just curious, like, how come we can see that input type hidden on the inspect? Like, because then I would assume, like, nobody else could, and that's how they can, like, copy that.
This is randomly generated every single time someone hits the server.
But, like if somebody else had couldn't somebody else just pull up the HTML and look at that and then put it in? Like, I see how it's hidden, so probably not, but how come we can see it?
Right, this is just the HTML on the page. All right, the question is how can we kind of prevent this from being stolen? Every single time you open up a browser, it is an individual session. So when I go to localhost 3000, energy's new, and then you go to this exact same one, if we were somehow sharing the same server, you would get a separate authenticity token. And it's only valid on this session. If, however, I took this, copied this value, slacked it to you directly, and then you, before I refreshed this page, pasted this in, Rails will then see this request as valid. That is extremely difficult to do, and you would have to literally send it to somebody on purpose. And so that's why this is generally considered secure. Cool? Did everyone understand the authenticity token? This is pretty important. Security. Cool. This speaker was like in the way. I couldn't see you. All right. Good deal. So one of the benefits, form tag, it helps with this UTF encoding. So if you want to send like emojis and like other things over, it should be good to go. And it builds this authenticity token. Cool? And then if I use this text field tag, I put name, it does name right here, points to name. If I did, I don't know, say color, because this is the actual attribute I need, and I refresh, you'll see that the value changes over to color. It also builds this ID, an ID, and classes are used for styling and JavaScript selecting. So this kind of is just like a helper. Cool? So far so good with just form tag and what it does. All it does is it builds this form and these two inputs for you. Form tag. Cool. Here's the thing though. Do you remember us doing something like energy and building the nested hash inside? Did that do that for us? No, I have to go in and manually do energy. This is the user experience, 1 star. And kind of build that myself, manually. And then I need a submit tag. Cool? So right here, so far so good, just with form tag. All right, now let's do this. I'm just gonna delete this. And let's talk about form 4. So there's a Rails helper called form 4. If you press tab, if you downloaded the Rails snippets, I know, it builds it for you. It's pretty money. Let's refresh and just see what happens. It says wrong number of arguments, given 0, expected 1 or 2. Form 4. Form 4 expects an argument. Cool? Did form tag expect an argument? No. Great. So far, difference in form 4, form tag, yes? So with form 4, I need an argument. But what do I need to put in? What do you think a form 4 would need? If I'm building this form 4 something, what would you want to put in here? If I'm building a brand new energy, what would this form be for? An energy object, right? The problem is, do I have access to an energy object? No, because if we look back in our energies controller, did I pull something from the model? And what was my response? Did I pull anything from the model? No. But what was the response? It was rendering new, right? So here I need some sort of energy model, right? Should I create it right here inside the new? No, because that saves to the database. But I don't want to save it to the database yet because I don't even have the details. But is there a way I can make a new instance of this energy object and not save it to my database? So smart. So I can have energy. Now do I have access to this energy object in my new? Yeah. So this form could be for a new energy object. Cool? If I hit refresh, what do you think will happen? Another error. And this one says, oh, I didn't save my energy control. Embarrassing. Embarrassing. Undefined method field for this energy object. When would an error message like this come up? Well, let's try it, right? Like, let's see. If I had in my Rails console my energy, right? Energy.first. I have an energy object, and I tried to, I don't know, call a method called field on it. Does a method field exist on this energy object? So I must have some undefined method field for energy. Let's take a quick peek and take a look at what that error message was. Between this error and that error. They look the same. Therefore, I can conclude that it must be attempting to call and invoke this method. The reason it wants to do that is because here, the way this F block works is I'm going to build a form for an energy object. And each of the fields, right, the form fields I'm going to build is going to be for this particular energy object. And so it's going to invoke a method on energy. What methods do we have available to us for energy? Okay, you guys are way ahead of me. I feel dumb now because I was going kind of slow. So we have powerful, and then we have finally f.submit. We want this to be a integer field, or is it number? I think it's number, but we'll try it. Yeah, it was number. It was number. Let's go back. It was number. Embarrassing. Cool. Boom. So let's take a look at what the HTML it built for us, right? Remember, if I right-click and inspect, it zooms right in on it for me. So again, action energies, post. Did I tell it to go to post to /energies in the code? No. So the form 4 defaults to the RESTful route. There's a way to change it, but you have to hard code it. So it defaults to the RESTful route. The second thing is it also builds this UTF and the authenticity token. The other thing it builds is, look at this. It pre-builds the nested hash for us. Amazing. Cool? So this is what's happening, right? At energy dot color. Remember, this is a new energy object. What is the value of a new object in each of its attributes? Nil. So naturally, nil gets called and invoked here. It puts it inside the value, but nil doesn't display. This will make more sense once we get to the edit. Are there any questions as to form tag, form for, specifically the differences? Yeah.
So you to auto complete the form for
Yeah.
Ruby snippets?
Cool. In lecture, you can watch the video. Hold command comma. You go to install, and you go Rails snippets. And it's this one right here. For sure. After you install it, restart your Atom. There was one more question. Yeah.
What were the, like, what the F means or stands for?
Yeah. This is just short for form. Or field, I think. It's field. Sorry. Like, yeah. No, it's form. It's definitely form. Yeah. So you're just doing form dot. So the form for is an iterator and a builder. And what it's going to do is, with this form object, it's going to build form.textField, which it knows and understands as an input, and it needs a method call to invoke to interpolate as the value. So this right here tells it, I need to build a text field. So I'm going to do input type text. This color, when it gets invoked at energy.color, is going to tell it, it's not here obviously, but it will tell it like value equals whatever at energy.color is. But if energy.color is nil, what displays? Nothing. Therefore, in this form.submit, what it will do is it will recognize at energy has no ID. If it has no ID, does it exist in the database? No. Therefore, it understands. And that's what's happening. This will make more sense as you see it in the edit.
Is there any reason why we use form tag?
Yes. Amazing question. The question was, why would we use form tag instead of form for, or like when would we use either, right?
Yes.
Okay. The idea here is that we needed an object to build for this, right? We needed the object. If, let's say, you're doing like a login or something, or maybe like a search, is there a model that exists in your database when you're searching your database? Can you do like a at every single item in your database? No. So form tag would be the ideal moment where like I need a form, but I don't have a model. I'm not creating something in my database necessarily. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question.
How like limiting is the Ruby like helpers for HTML in terms of like putting more attributes into the HTML, like styling it, since it builds all the HTML for us?
Yes. So the question is, if it's building all the HTML for us, how can I add additional attributes to the HTML, right? Well, this right here, you can actually force it to not build authenticity token. Why? I don't know. Expose your app. Danger. This is not as good an example as I thought. So what we could do is, let's say I want to add, I don't know, what's attribute? Like class, right? For styling. So I can do form for add class. Boom. I don't know, let's just check this out. Look at this plus right here, 173. I can just do this right here. I can add a class and then point to whatever class I want to add. Cool? So yeah, like any other attributes, you would just look them up, how you want to add them, and just add them in. Every single one of the helpers takes additional arguments that you can add custom attributes to. You just have to look up the syntax. But you could do anything to anything. Like, let's say you had an image tag and you want to add like alt, or you want to add like a height and width on your image tag. Just look up the syntax, but it will take extra arguments. Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
When you go back to Adam?
Yeah.
When you made that form for tag, you erased, there was a line that you erased. What was that?
Yeah. Sure. The question was when I trash, right? HTML. Get out of here. Form 4. This right here, I'm going to go into it here in a second, is known as man, there's a fancy name for it. Man, do you know the fancy name for this? Yeah, partial. That's it. Oh, thank you. Ian++. It's called a partial. And what that means is it's going to render another HTML file that I've built inside here. And this will make more sense literally as I build the edit. So if it doesn't, ask me again in like 5 minutes. Cool? Sorry. It'll make, I just have to do an example. It'll make more sense.
You just did it so fast. Though.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I know when you do form tag, there's also something like extra data that we don't use. What is that?
Extra data you don't use?
Because like so for the lab, for example, I would type out form tag and then I hit enter, so it gives me the whole thing. But when I compare it to the things that are in the lab itself.
Form tag like this? All this extra stuff?
Yeah.
Cool. So remember, form tag, the first argument, what did I actually give it and not this submission path? What did I tell it to go to? So there's something called this submission path. Where do you think this comes from?
And out the resource.
Yes, it's the route helpers. Did you guys get to that yesterday? Okay, we will get more into it, but it's just a shortcut for routes. And I will get into it. Let me get into it now because the routes are super important. I'll get into it now for you. Are there any other questions on this form 4 form tag? Yeah.
How do you put the authorization token straight to the HTML? Is there a way?
Yes. The question is, how do I put the authorization token straight into the HTML? Rails, it's called CSRF token form. How do I add this, right? And there's just, you can literally do this. That will automatically create an authenticity token for you. Cool. Like if I take this, I think I could just put it here, and it should display like a token. Hold on, let me try it. Oops, sorry. This form tag. Let's just get rid of this. Oh, I think it's right here. Yeah, I just like built it right here. So you can manually build your own if you wanted to. If you were to do this, this is how you can, this is how you can just like throw it right in here. And now you can get regular HTML to work because you've manually built in the authenticity token into your form. So like you see how it was like not a child element? But if I refresh, oh, it didn't save. Embarrassing. You'll see that now it does have the CSRF authenticity token. CSRF stands for cross-site request forgery. So what I just described, and that is, yeah, I know, it's a lot of terms. I'm sorry. It's after lunch. It's Friday. We could talk about this at Felix. When you build the form, what time is it? Are we over? Okay. We have two choices. I know Turing's open. We could just jump into Turing. Actually, let me just pause the recording. I know Turing's open. All right, good deal. So that being said, are we cool? The CSRF exactly is that, right? Somebody, if they have your authenticity token, right, can come from a different website and submit a form to your backend that could possibly hack you. But because your authenticity token needs to match, Rails will block anything that doesn't match. And that's how it prevents the cross-site request forgery. So cross-site just meaning like another website submits a form, but without the authenticity token, that request, that post, right, is going to get blocked. So you cannot really, forgery is like counterfeit, you're like creating your own token. But if you don't have the original Rails token, it'll block it, you know what I mean? Are there any questions on this CSRF action? I hope I did a good job explaining. It is like pretty complicated, but that's like the very short of it. Yeah.
I think I missed this from a little earlier. Does Rails G resource also run? Does it also run DB migrate DBC?
It does not. Yeah, it does not. Good question. Sorry, I didn't explain that. Yeah, I ran DB migrate. I ran Rails DB migrate. Rails. Okay. Oh, I see. Brandon's gone. You'll just all right. Okay. Cool. So we're cool on this. Good question. Let me get into the routes now, and then we'll sort of continue, and then I'll get into partials, and then that's all we have for today. Is that fair? Awesome. So I'm just gonna get rid of. I'll just leave it in for funsies, so you have it. And let's get into the idea of this like helper. Cool. Once I submit, should I in fact finally hit this buy bug that's been sitting here for a long time just waiting? Yeah? Yes? Cool. So let's do it. What's this energy color? Blurple, right? That's what I heard. Blurple. And what's this power level?
Minus 500.
42. Minus 500. Very good. I have no validations in here, so. I got it. I got it. It's a depressant. Cool. So I meant the buy bug, right? Vicky! All right, so params. So now I have params at a key of energy because bless up form 4 builds that nested hash for me. And I can just go to energy, create with the params at a key of energy. Yeah? Guess I couldn't. Looks like there's something called forbidden attributes error. Man, Rails is just defending you left and right. So, I know I'm wild with my hand movements. So params, it's a good thing this is not like recording my face. Params, right? I can require the key of energy, and it will give me this. I can also do params at a key of energy. Something I want to point out that's very important. If I do .require, I cannot reassign. If I do at a key of energy, I can in fact, slip-a-daisy and reassign it. Do you understand the difference in why we do not want to use the key right now, or the potential pitfalls of it?
Like if you wanted to edit?
Yeah, if I just said, whoopsie, right? What do you think params at a key of energy will be now? Right. I don't want to do that. I only want to pull it from the data. So params that require at a key energy, there's something called permit. And what this means is I'm going to specify the exact attributes that I want to enter my database. So the attributes that I want to enter my database are going to be color and powerful. What I'll see is this permitted false turn to permitted true. If, however, I did not put powerful, I just put color, only the color is permitted true, even though params at a key energy is color and powerful. So this permit true, What this does is, if I have this, the permit true, I can take this whole thing. Oh, dang. I don't have my thing built in. All right, energy dot create with all of this will actually save into my database. What's happening is I'm requiring the nested param of energy, and I'm going to specify these two attributes. I'm going to whitelist only these two attributes. What that means is I know for sure inside this nested hash there's going to be two keys. These are the ones that I want allowed in my database. Everything else, block it. Block it. Cool? Don't want no scrubs, right? Yeah.
I did see it in one of the labs that actually there's a private method for that. It's in the written down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just give a value for that in the private method, can we call it any?
That is exactly correct. What he said was there's some sort of like private method that we create, and then we can invoke that private method. Allow me to show you and explain. Right? So this right here, before we move on, are there any questions as to why we would do something like this? The idea is that if I did something like, I don't know, color, I only permitted color, what do you think will happen when I create this energy? Oops. Bloop. Powerful will be nil. It literally blocked the other one because I only whitelisted one attribute and not both. So let's write some code to figure that out. What I did was we did bloop. So we did that. Ja. And then I'm going to do something like, I don't know, a redirect to, I can do like energies, the index, if I want to. We'll leave that alone for now, because we're going to get into those route helpers in a second. What I don't like is the fact that I'm exposing, these are public or private methods? Public, right? Do I want to expose publicly what params I'm going to permit? So I can make a little private action, and I can call a method anything I want, right? Like these are the energy params I want, cool? And then I can just paste this part in. Therefore, I can just invoke this method. So far, so good? That's exactly what you said. I'm going to make it private so that nobody can see what attributes I want, which actually I want this too. All right, and then I just invoke the method. The idea here is, what are these params? What are these params for? What model? All right, so energy params. This pattern right here, well, not Vicky. Well, we'll just, all right. So this pattern right here, temporarily, we'll bring it back, I promise. Temporarily, right? This pattern right here is known as strong params. So this right here is called strong params, naturally, of course, gains. And the reason we want this is because we want to whitelist versus blacklist, which means block. We want to whitelist, allow, specific attributes, because the internet, oh, that's embarrassing, is scary and full of hacked source. Yeah? So you only want to whitelist very specific parameters. Are there any questions on strong params, why we put them in private, and how we have access to them right here and when we're invoking them? Yeah? You should write them all out. If you use like the star argument and just allow everything, you're essentially defeating the purpose, because then anything the user sends over the very well trusted user will always go in your database. So this is saying, hey, if it's not color or powerful, toss it. They're worthless. Do not save them to the database. Do not pass code. Do not collect $200. So to answer your question, yes, but we should not be doing that. Awesome. So let's go to the routes, then the partials, and then we're done. Does anyone need a break? All right, cool. Just gonna ride this ride this Red Bull out, this Bull Red out. Cool. How do I do the edit? Do I just, oh, sorry, I wanna make sure I keep my promise. How do I do this edit action? Do I just do this and I'm done? Yeah? What else do I need? Little def update action. Cool. Can I hit these controller actions right now? What's missing? The routes. Oops. Did you see that? Routes. Cool. And so I need naturally a get to slash just edit. We need a specific one. All right. Bloop. And that's going to go to where? Energies. Edit. Cool. And then lastly, we need what? Oh, right, smart. So we need the patch, smart. And then that's going to go where? Do I need this edit here? Trash. Just get out of here. Cool? All right. So let's talk about these helper methods and helper paths. Cool? If I were to go to localhost 3000, there's something called Rails info routes. Oops, that didn't. Rails info routes. Everyone see this? What that's going to allow me to do, I'm in the buy bug still. It's going to show me all my routes. So I have energies path because it read from here energies. This automatically builds this for me. I see energies new, and it goes energies new path. Cool? And that's all it did, right? Notice how it didn't build this helper for me for edit, because it didn't really know how to read it. Rails will try its best to build you a helper, but it's not always going to be there. So what we can do is we can specify the helper. So let's say this edit, I want to specify a very specific name for it. And that's called as, and it'll be, I don't know, Army Strong, for fun, just so you can see the ridiculousness of this, right? But the Army's not ridiculous, just so you know. And you see this Army Strong path here, all right? All this does is it builds a variable called Army Strong path, and all it points to is a string that looks like energies ID edit. Cool? Let's prove that. Remember, this is a variable that points to this as a string. So, redirect to. After I create, can I use, instead of this string, the Army Strong path? Where will this take me? It will take me to here. So far, so good. Here's the problem. Which one? Which one?
Specific one that we just created.
Well, let's try it, right? I don't know. Am I using this in the view page right now? Is this a view page? Or is this pushing me to another request? So if this is not a view page and I'm not going to use it in the view, I do not need an instance variable. So I can have E for energy or Evans, whatever, right? And so because I'm not using it in the view, this is a redirect. I have to tell it, this is the ID I want. Otherwise, it's not going to know what ID to go to, right? So if this works, what I'm saying is right after I hit the create and I make one, immediately redirect me to the edit page. Are we cool with that? You have a question?
Also just go back to the index page, right?
We can, yeah. I can go to the index page if I want to here. Do you want me to do that, or do you want to go to the edit?
I mean, like I would personally go back to the index page, but that's
Yeah.
personal preference.
Yeah. This is what we'll do. We'll go to this ridiculous pass first, and then we'll fix it to go to the index, because that makes more sense, right? So let's do this ridiculous thing. If I do, cool. Let's get rid of the buy bug, which we did. Smort, the smort drink, right? Energy level. Yeah. Infinity. All right, I just a little scribble action. If I create, it'll hit post to slash energies, which my route will tell me post to slash energies hits the create action. The create makes the new energy and immediately redirects me to the army strong path at the ID of the object I just made. So if we look at routes, the army strong path gives me energies at the ID I just made, edit, which is going to be energies edit. Do I have an edit action in my energies controller? Yes. Do I have a view? Do I have a view? What's the model? And what is the response? Do I have a render edit here? No, I don't. So if I were to submit this, what should I see? Edit template is missing, which is perfect. If we go back to the terminal, we can see this ridiculous error, but we can also see that I in fact saved the smort one to my database. Yeah.
So does Rails override that SQLite thing about not having numbers that are too big in integer?
I think active record in its version, as it works with Rails 5, has an expanded memory buffer for the input. Cool? If you did not understand that question, I answered it very specifically. Do not worry about it. Cool? But did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Is anyone curious as to what that meant? Okay. So SQL sometimes, if you put these like params in, will like block how much data you can put in. Here, it probably should have blocked it because the number is kind of big. But active record in its implementation with Rails 5 will just be like, it's fine. Just take it in. Cool? All right, so boop, boop, boop. Is everyone cool as to why we're getting this error? Who's confident on fixing this error? Cool, so we're gonna do that super fast. Ready? You think there's a lot more to this lecture, but you'll see. Super fast, little edit action. Cool? Ready? And all I'm gonna put is H1 and go edit that energy. I'll leave the T in there. Cool. Let's take a look at what's going on. This new, right? Notice, bloop, bloop, bloop. Ready? And I'm gonna go right to the edit, and I go bloop. Is this gonna work? Who says yes? Who says no? Why no? There is no at energy inside the edit. So let's go back to the energies controller. And for the model, we will need at energy equals to energy.new. We need to grab the energy, right? Dot find with the, where are the params coming from? The URL, remember? This is a get to energy slash something, right? Like, I don't know, 6 slash edit. So it's coming from here. Yeah? Remember this? Cool. And now I have an energy. If you remember, what did I say about what this color and what this powerful does? It will invoke these methods on energy. So energy.color, energy.powerful. When it was in the new, those values did not exist. But inside the edit, do those values exist? Oh, energy path. Ugh. It's too powerful. It's too powerful. All right, we could fix this real quick, and I'll explain why. Bloop. Cool. And there it is. Cool. I'll explain that error here in a second. I just wanted to show you like the values are being interpolated for you. Is everyone comfortable as to why that worked and how I can see these names and numbers? Was that a hand or you just adjust your glasses? You have like the window right behind you.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just
Okay, because it looked like this, but I can't really see. I'm blind. All right, so that being said, did you see that powerful? Where's the edit? What's the difference between lines 2 through 8 here and 16 to 22? Literally nothing. Literally nothing. So I'm just going to make a new file, underscore. This is just the naming convention for a partial. That's called form. So I can just go bloop, bloop, save it here, and then I'm just going to render something called form. But that looked like a Ruby, so. Now all I have to do is, oh, sorry, I didn't change it in my edit either, right? I'm going to do this, delete it, bloop, and go render form. So now it's going to pull in the partial of the form. So if I refresh, you can see that it worked. But just to prove it, I'm going to actually delete the T. It was bothering me for no reason. And it's gone. And that, in fact, does work. So are we cool on partials? Like what that does? And so, swinging it back, I saw a question back there. Swinging it all the way back, there was something about the idea that when I did the form 4, this thing rendered something called shared, something called errors. So I can actually have an errors file, and I can share it amongst all my forms so that the errors look the same every time. That's all that's doing. Cool? Yes, what was the question?
The question is, I do remember we used in the layout like yield. So is it possible that we can use that as well in the form as well?
Yield on a form?
Yeah.
Like a partial?
Yeah.
What would you be yielding?
Just the form that we're passing the code and
The
floor.
The what?
The form instead of rendering, like is it the same method or like it's just completely different?
Yeah, no, it's okay. The question is like, can I use like yield or something? When I run render, it will be doing that for me. It will be doing like this like yield, pulling in what form is into this file. Right? Like I can have a p tag on the bottom of this and just be like, ha! And so, I got rid of render. And so it will be pulling in the ERB from what it finds in the form ERB. It yields it right here. Yeah? Is that cool?
Does partial refer to that line 2, or does partial refer to the underscore form?
Got it. The question is, what does the partial refer to? Underscore form, this underscore, lets everybody else know that I'm about to use this ERB as a partial. And so Rails is smart enough to recognize that I do not have to put underscore here. it'll just find something with form because I'm running a render inside another ERB that I'm also yielding. That sounded wild, but I just want to make sure that that made sense. Like a thumbs up, yes, no. No?
Like, how would you define partial? Like, what is that?
Oh, okay. I have some HTML that I want as reusable. And so I'm going to write part of the HTML that I'm going to reuse in other HTML forms. And that part of the HTML I'm going to use in other HTML files is a partial. So for example, you see how I used this 7 lines of code both here and here. So this partial is just some HTML that I'm going to pull into other HTML files.
So, for example, regarding this stuff, let's say we're creating a whole HTML file, and we have like a header and like a separate thing at the bottom. It's different there. In the middle is always different. So like a header and a footer.
Yeah.
So would I have to make 2 different folders for that, or put it in one?
If you want the header and the footer to be exactly the same across your app, I think Vicky mentioned this in layouts. There's something called application. This goes inside every single thing. When this yield is called, it will pull in whatever you render in your controller. Did you guys go over this? Yes. I mean, yes?
Well, it was in the pairing lab we did. Yeah.
Oh, it was in pairing. All right. Super fast. How Rails works is in the controller. That's totally my fault. When I run render new, this is the new. It will look at the new ERB, take all of this, and inside application.erb, yield it. It pastes it right here. That way, it's always using the same sort of head tags. So for example, right, in my body, if I wanted like a navigation bar on every single part of my website, I would have like a p tag and be like, this is the nav bar. Shh. Right? And if I go here, this is the nav bar. I can go to Energies new. Look, there's the nav bar. I can go to Energies, which is the index. Oh, look, there's the nav bar. Because application is pulled in every single time. So smart. Cool. Sorry if that lab was confusing. I hope that clarified it. Yeah? Good questions. Like I don't know where everyone is at all the time. All right, so the last thing I want to touch on, because we are running out of time, and I'll just cover it. I'll cover link to and button to in the next lecture tomorrow, Monday. But I do want to go over the helpers a little bit more in depth. Is that fair? Okay. So let's say I'm on my energies, right? And I know you guys didn't want to go over index, but just bear with me. It's going to help. Cool? So my index I can have at energies, okay, equals to smart, right? Then I'm going to render index. Bloop. Does it matter if it's there or not? No, but should I?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Good response. Smart. Oh, energies? Thank you. That was embarrassing. Let's go to index, right? I can do at energies.each do with the energy. I'm so lazy. Little end action. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Have any of you like found yourself doing that and like just hating yourself? Sorry. Cool. E.color, right? And this is just going to be like a p tag, and it's going to be the E.color. That doesn't look right because, oh, dang. There we go. So let's actually go to the index page, right? What if I wanted, remember I created 2 blooples, right? What if I wanted to link to this, right? Yeah, I can do instead something called a link to, and that is Ruby. Well, it's really Rails as a helper. The first argument is going to be what's on the page. Cool? The second argument is I need the route. So I can make this all go to the route. Let's see what happens. Cool. This is what gets displayed on the page, yeah? If you look very closely, right, on the bottom here, right above the inspector, when I highlight over, it goes to the route. Can I then, instead of this nonsense, can I interpolate, I don't know, slash, I don't know, e.id, something like that? What would that make these? Like 1, 2, 3, 4? Not yet, not show yet, because I didn't do slash energy slash IDs. But like look on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and then 4's on the right because you know, bad formatting. Cool. Does that make sense? So far so good? So then if I wanted the show, I would be like energies slash this ID. So if I go refresh, I can do energies 1, energies 2. So far so good? All right, let's talk about the routes, the helpers, and resources. If I go back to Rails info routes, remember I very quickly, very sneakily went into routes and I brought back resources. Let's check and see what it builds. Energies path, new energy path, edit energy path, energy path. It builds these for you, the helpers. It names them for you. Versus if I didn't have it and I did all of these, right? Don't forget about that over there. Oh yeah. It doesn't name all of them for me. It's not as like sexy. I have to name them all, right? Like this is going to be the energies path. This is going to be like, I don't know, as, I don't know, like new energy, something like that. And then this is fine. Cool. Like, do you know what I mean? So resources will build you all the sexy helper paths. Going back to that weird error that I got when we did super quickly inside the edit, we rendered the form, and the form built us the form 4. Do you remember what I told you about the route form 4 does for you? What does the route form 4 build for you? It kind of depends, right? It will build you the restful route. It'll build you the restful route. So it is smart enough to know that if I were to go to energies /3 /edit, let's take a look at the restful route. Look at that. Patch. It'll do a patch 2 /energies 3. But how did it know that? Underneath the hood, it recognized that it must go to the edit energies path. Before I used resources, before I like just brought this back in, did I have an edit energy path here? No, and therefore the error that I got was, actually let's take a look, ready? Undefined method energy path, because it's building and using the restful routes. Cool? Which is why I was like, and then I was like, oh, real quick, and then I just brought it back and it fixed it. That's what it's doing. It's always going to be using the restful route. Cool? If I wanted to fix that, and I wanted to do this, and I know it's looking for energy path, how can I fix that? As energy?
Yeah.
Sure? You sure? I don't know. Okay? Cool? Eat? All right. I know this ran super long. there was actually just a lot of good questions. So we went over link to, right? The first argument is what displays on the page. The second argument is looking for the route. If I have the resources, right, and I'm using the path helpers inside my index, instead of this, I can go to the show page. Which one of these is the show page? Which one of these is the show page? Yeah. Energy path, right? The show page needs a ID. So, does it know which ID to go to? I can tell it. I can either give it the whole object or specify the ID. If I specify the ID, this is what those helper paths are for. Instead of hard coding your routes, you'll use the helpers. Are there any questions as to helpers? The link to? Regular forms, HTML, form for, and form tag. Partials, strong params. That's all I have for you. Thanks so much.